مسكدله نيكتتا ني أنك حسا أمودر عفر ينتك جحلو السلامة نكسين تافينام دانكالي هنجت إيا برنامج اللنكوي نيكتتا نملاي مسكدلوكسين أرحبسنام
Thank you very much, Ahmed, for your kind words of introduction about me in particular. I'm grateful for that. It's a great honor to be participating today from my office here in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada. I want to welcome everyone, those who will speak, those who are participating, those that are tuned in around the globe. I'm fascinated each time we do a presentation or partake in a panel such as this. I'm fascinated by how many people and where they are and what their backgrounds are and what their interests are. And the more diversity that we see in our participants and in their views, the more interested I am in hearing those views and contributing in the way I have been and will continue to do. So I want to explain my role today in three ways. First of all, I'm a lawyer, I'm an advocate, and of course, in the work that I've done for now 36 years on behalf of individuals and organizations both, I have tried to find solutions to protect people's interests, no matter where they are, where they've come from, which country, and so forth, and which religion, which ethnicity. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is the rule of law. What matters is the protection of rights, which are vast and long in number, but also the protection of minority rights, which are often forgotten or not observed. So how I came to the topic after practicing for two decades, I had represented a number of people from the Horn of Africa, from Eritrea, from Djibouti, from Somalia, from Ethiopia. I had come to develop a small amount of expertise on the region and its various friction points, I'll call it. By traveling vicariously through the clients I had represented and the ethnicities they had come from, I had come to learn a lot about what was going on in the Horn of Africa. But of course, my learning was remote. I had never been there until the Afar people organized themselves here in Ottawa and came to my office and asked me to partake in a conference, which was held 14 years ago at Carleton University. So it was a campus of a university, scholars, academics, and so forth, presented, including former and current, then foreign and then current politicians here in Canada that had a particular interest in the protection of human rights. And from that conference came, quite by surprise to me, an invitation to travel to Ethiopia and to go into the remote area of the Afar state, including as close as we could at the time to the borders of Eritrea and Djibouti. And that was very eye-opening. I learned firsthand by introduction of Ahmed and others to elders and political leaders, women, children, refugees. I mean, it was really fascinating to learn firsthand, now to see firsthand the many things I had heard for the decades previous. So that was kind of, for me, a fact-finding mission. We came back to Canada. We established a not-for-profit organization, which we then made application and received approvals as a registered charity in Canada so that we could deliver humanitarian aid to those people and beneficiaries in that region. So that's now 14 years in operation. We have delivered humanitarian aid in support of relief, education, and healthcare for Afar people who have come from Eritrea and Djibouti and who were born and raised in Ethiopia, who are citizens of Ethiopia. So again, just to point out, to me, it doesn't matter where people have come from. What matters to me is the need that we identified and the relief that we could provide. Ethiopia, for their part, has welcomed us and our supports, and we're very grateful for that. We have a good relationship with Ethiopia and their representatives, including here in Canada at their embassy, and we've been very grateful for what they've done to facilitate our ability to deliver the humanitarian aid. I have led 11 deployments of humanitarian workers and donors, foreign donors, by making trips 11 times into Ethiopia and into the Afar region to deliver much of the aid that I've just described. And each trip, we've had the welcome of the government of Ethiopia and the states that we've traveled through, who have facilitated our ability to help the most needy in terms of both providing and funding their education, to improve their health care, to deliver humanitarian aid to refugees who have come from Eritrea, who have been registered in 2 refugee camps, which we visit when we go. And it's really been an incredible, challenging, but also rewarding journey to have the great honor to do this kind of work. Brings incredible reward. But by so doing, I could see the enormity of the challenges and the problems, particularly in regard to Eritrea, the massive movement of refugees, those that could activate and leave and come across the border into countries such as Ethiopia and seek resettlement to other countries, including Canada, but also to Sweden and Brussels and France and the UK. Many of your participants who are joining today have been through this very journey that I've just quickly described, and they have their own personal experiences and motivations for helping in the ways that they do. And I'm very proud to acknowledge the courage that they continue to make in their volunteer work and in their pro bono work. But the point I want to provide you with at this stage in my words, as brief as they are, is that I could see that there was a bigger problem going on, and that I could spend the rest of my life and get as many people in Canada and elsewhere involved in the humanitarian work, but still never really achieve a solution to the problem. To me, the solution needed to engage with advocacy at a much greater level and skill than I have, having to do with what was going on in Eritrea. And in particular, the mistreatment of the Afar minority population there. So I went to my close friend, Professor Joseph Magnet. I told him the work that I had been doing for years, and he showed incredible quick interest in wanting to learn more, to meet Afar elders in Ottawa, to study the situation I described, to validate the things that he had heard. Because as a constitutional legal expert, not just in terms of Canada, but as you heard from Ahmed in his introduction, I thought his expertise might really help not just the Afar minority population in Eritrea, but the many other minority groups who are not well served, including the majority groups, frankly, who are not well served by the government, the regime in that country. Something needs to be done and said, and work has to be accomplished to expose what is going on in that country. And so I asked his involvement, and he has very willingly and generously provided his expertise. He is a scholar, he is an academic, he is a professor, and as I said, far beyond my very humble abilities to deploy humanitarian assistance into that region. Professor Joseph Magnet has looked at it from a very much bigger level and has proposed ideas which have a lot of traction and should gain a lot more support and interest by those tuning in today and many others who will see this broadcast once it's recorded and available for those who can't participate live. So I want to thank the Ethiopian government for all they've done to allow us to deliver humanitarian help into the Afar region, who incidentally have been designated by the Ethiopian government to be in great need. The Ethiopian government has acknowledged that, and they've been grateful to us for the work that we have done. It's easy these days to have very strong opinions and ideas in the current environment about what's going on, reference to the civil war in Ethiopia. Very easy to have strong opinions and hard ideas about this, and maybe some of those will be shared with us today. But in all of this, I think we need to find common ground, common purpose, to express ideas that have traction and ability to compromise so that the war ends and the suffering stop. And, you know, in my 14 years of doing this for and on behalf of the Afar people, I never thought things would worsen as they now have. I never dreamt that a war would spill over into the Afar region and continue as it has. In preparation for today's conference, I made an effort to contact our local implementing partner in Ethiopia. We spoke to them live yesterday to get real updated information on what is going on in that part of the world. And we were given situation reports, which continue. I expect I'll get another one on Monday with some reports and some pictures and so forth of the last deployment of money that we sent as a foreign donor to try and alleviate some of the suffering that's going on there. So that's the first purpose of my role today. The second purpose is to play a role as co-moderator as much as I can do that. Again, as I said, we're lawyers, we're advocates, we're trained to listen and ask questions and probe and dig into some corners that haven't been expressed before now, maybe, and then to learn to contribute to where we can. And the third part, which is the third part of my role, is to introduce Professor Magnet, which I tried to do just there. There's plenty more to be said for Professor Magnet in terms of what he's done already as counsel to the Afar people. He has drafted a constitutional framework for a post-authoritarian Eritrea. We have shared that with government and non-government organizations, including the United Nations, including the European Union, including the other nationalities in Eritrea, who have a very broad and wide diaspora outside of Eritrea all over the world. And we've welcomed their ideas for discussion, and we've listened, and Professor Magnet may tell you more about that. But the 3 points are to introduce the humanitarian work that I, as just team leader with many others, including Ahmed Yusuf Mohammed, have done, to speak to you about what role I can play today as moderator, and then, as I said, to introduce Professor Magnet. So my words hopefully have been not too long. I wanted to thank everyone. I want to tell you that I'm greatly honored that you would think to include me today. and the role that we can play here in Canada, because we have a federal constitution that's based on lots of history and lots of accommodation with minority and other groups, the founders of this country, and the peace that we've achieved, and the stability and the economic advantages and so forth that our constitution here in Canada has at least been able to achieve with our founding groups, English, British, French, and the Indigenous peoples. I think, as an example, Canada shines bright in what we've achieved in terms of our political stability, economic strengths, and we're a moderate country. We are middle power, and I'm glad to hear that Canada plays a role in the discussion in Ethiopia, because we've delivered humanitarian aid in the hundreds of millions of dollars for decades in Ethiopia. So we have welcomed people from Ethiopia, from Eritrea, from Djibouti, from Sudan, from Somalia, from the whole Horn of Africa, and they have settled well here. And we've learned from them, and we've accommodated those backgrounds and those peoples and their voices. They're always welcome here. Will always be moving forward. Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you for allowing me to say these words. Thank you.